Hi there friends, my name is Sarah. I'm the Education Assistant for the Dunlop Art Gallery. I'm really excited today I get to share with you how to create recycled weavings. All that you'll need for this is a piece of cardboard, thick or thin works fine, a pair of scissors, and some recycled string. It'll also help if you have a pencil and ruler on hand, but it's not absolutely necessary. Before we get started, I urge you to check out the Dunlop Art Gallery's art collection online. There, take a look at the textile art entitled Dawn, and it was created by Arthur Ballum, and that's our piece that we're using for inspiration today. All right, let's get started.
Alright, so this is kind of an example of what I want you folks to be trying to create. So you can see that it's clearly inspired by the landscape. We've got the grass down here, we've got some sky, a nice little fluffy cloud, and some kind of flower. So the first thing that we're going to do is we're going to learn how to make a loom using cardboard. So I've got the thicker cardboard from a pizza box here. You can also use thin cardboard. I suggest that you kind of double it up and, either glue it or tape it together to create a sturdier piece of cardboard. You can also challenge yourself and create a circular loom. If you're doing that though, you want to make sure that your number of notches are odd. Alright, so the first step to creating our loom is creating our notches here. This is where your ruler comes in handy. So what I did is I measured out 1 inch between each notch, and I did that on the top and the bottom. If you don't have a ruler, that's okay. You can also eyeball it. You just want to make sure that you have the same number of notches on the top as you have on the bottom. So after you have those notches, you're going to cut all of those notches out. You don't want them too deep though, so you can see about how deep I'm cutting those. After you've got your notches, you're going to grab your string. So this is where that recycling piece really comes into play. So I'm using, dental floss as these are called your warp strings. You can also use, I have some ribbon lying around. I've even cut up pieces of plastic bag, so different types of plastic bag. You can also cut up, an old rag or a piece of fabric too into strips. That works really well. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to start to add my warp strings. So I'm using thread here, the dental floss, and you're going to leave quite a big portion behind. And you're just going back and forth. And you can see at the end here that I have that extra string on both sides, okay? So you want to have a little bit of extra string on both sides. Great, so now we're going to start adding our weft. So this is the stuff that we're going to be weaving with. You can see that I'm using a piece of plastic bag. You can use a whole bunch of different types of things for string. So yeah, plastic bag, like I said before, strips of fabric work really well. Okay, so this is the tabby weave. It's the most basic weaving technique. It's what I like to call the over-under technique. Okay, so what you're going to do is you're going to start by tying your piece of string to your bottom, okay, your bottom warp string, and then you're going to start going under a string. And then I'm going to go over the next one. I'll go under the one after that. Okay. So you can see that it's kind of making this pattern. All right. So over, under. So that is the basic tabby. Once you get to the edge here, you're just going to twirl it under, and then your opposite row above, so you can see on this warp I'm going under with the weft. So on the next level I'm going to be going over that warp. So you can do that all the way. That's how I created the grass here. Okay, you can even see here where I have the cardboard insert. That's the basic tabby weave. So I'm just going to finish this row off. Great. So that is the basic tabby weave. If you want to challenge yourself with this basic weave, you can also start to add a pattern to it. So maybe you're gonna go over one warp, and then maybe you're gonna go under 2. So try that out, try mixing it up with the amount of warps that you're going over and under, and you'll get a different pattern for each of those. So the next technique that I'm gonna show you is how to create fringe. That's the technique that I used in my example here to create this nice fluffy flower. It's also known as a raya knot. So what you want to do is you want to have a whole bunch of strips of string, and I'll show you here the basic technique. There's 2 ways. You can fold it around 2 strings towards you. Okay, so that'll create fringe. You can do that a whole bunch of times and that'll kind of build it up. You can also create a loop, okay, and then you can pull that through to create a fringe that way as well. So experiment with those different raya knots. So you're doing them either with 2 warp strings or on 1, and you're going to build that up really heavily to create a nice fluffy piece. Make sure that you're using 2 really long pieces, and then you can cut them to size after. The last technique that I'm going to show you folks today is called the sumac, and that's what I used to create these really fluffy clouds. It kind of creates a rope effect. So I'm going to start by tying off my string where I want this to start. And what you're doing is you're taking the string and you're wrapping it around a warp thread and back to you, okay? So you can wrap it, over or under. I'm gonna wrap under for this one, so pull it through. And then you can kind of add some volume by pulling that. So I'm gonna go over the next one, put that under, pull that through, and make a loop. So this works really well for really thick types of string. So the fabric works really well. If you cut that plastic into thicker bands, it'll create more volume as well. And you can go around, and this one's really easy to have fun with because you can go over, under, you can bring it up, around, back the other way. And that's a really good way to create those fluffy clouds and any other really volume piece. All right, so now you know the basic 3 weaving techniques. Now I'm going to show you how to take your artwork off of the loom. You don't have to do this, but if you want to hang it on the wall, it does look nice to take it off the loom and hang it on some type of stick. So I'll bring this finished piece over here. Today I'm going to be hanging it on a kebab stick. I just found this in one of my drawers. You can also use a twig from outside. Any type of thing. I've used a straw before too, that works as well. Even a strip of cardboard might work. Okay, so the first thing you want to do is you want to flip your piece over, and what you want to do is you want to cut, I'm going to start on the bottom. So I'm going to cut all of these strings. Okay, I'm going to flip that over. Now this is where it's kind of tricky. I'm going to push my weaving up a little bit. And what you're going to do is you're going to tie those bottom warp strings together. So I'll tie these 2. You might have to double knot them depending on what kind of string you're using. I definitely have to double knot mine. And it's okay if you push up a little bit. It's just going to make your weaving tighter. So I've done that there, and I'm going to continue to do this all the way across. Great, so now I've got all the bottom tied. I can now lift this off. There's 2 ways that you can do this last part. You can simply just take this off of the loom. Okay, and then you'll have, all those little loops to put your stick through. What I like to do though is I also like to cut that off, all those little warp strings, and actually tie them to the stick. So I'm going to do that now. So the last thing that I did is I just kind of cut off that extra piece, and now it is ready to hang.
Great! Now you know how to create a weaving using entirely recycled materials. Now it's your turn to create something great inspired by the landscape. We'd love to see what you come up with. There's 2 ways that you can share your artworks with us. You can post on social media and tag us, and also use the hashtag Dunlop Challenge. You can also email it to us at the email address dunlop@reginalibrary.ca. For other great resources, be sure to check out the Regina Public Library website, as well as the Dunlop Learning websites. Until next time, friends, take care!
For more information, go to reginalibrary.ca